Welcome to The Fight with Teddy Atlas, presented by Dynamic Striking. I'm Ken Rideout, joined as always by the voice of all combat sports, the legend Teddy Atlas. Teddy, how you doing?
Good, I'm doing all right. Beat up. I went up to just the city, as I do every other day, and went up to Manhattan to one of the best hospitals around, HSS, Hospital for Special Surgery, where I had my knee fixed up, where I had the surgery, and Jacopo, my physical therapist up there, did his magic. He tortured me for 2 hours, and then apologized. Say, I'm sorry. I hurt you. And I said, oh, at least you say you're sorry. A lot of people have hurt me. They never say they're sorry. But I appreciate that. And, you know, it's getting stronger, I believe. It's hard to tell because after they beat it up, after he beats it up with all the stuff he does and the lifting I do with it and all the stuff you're supposed to do, you're struggling to get home. But that's why you take a day off, let it rebuild, get strong. I'm around all good people, not only good therapists or good hospital, but you see all these young soccer players and young basketball players. There was a young kid who just had surgery, plays for Michigan, college basketball. You know, I was tempted to say to him, hey, UConn, that's my team. They beat you, But of course, I could be a little bit better than that, and not mention that. But just a lot of good kids, young athletes in there. They're there for a reason. They're there because the best people are there. So anyway, everything good over the weekend. Again, I was blessed to me and my wife could go down to the shore with my daughter and her beautiful family and our grandkids. The only bad thing is we don't get to see my little Teddy the Fourth. He's in Vegas, but it was just great, as always. Just great being with them and having time with them and watching them grow and watching them change. We have a little 1-year-old, Adeline, and it's just crazy how 1 year old. Every time I see her, I don't see her enough. So every time I see her, she looks different. It just. She keeps changing. So, anyway, let's get to the UFC, I guess, because they had a really well represented card. They always do. I mean, that's why their brand is worth $22 million since they merged with WWE. I mean, you put on. It's like I always say, it's not a complicated formula. You put competitive fights on, the best with the best, and people are gonna come. You build it, people will come, right? Like that movie, Field of Dreams. And that's exactly what Dana White and the Ferreira brothers did. They built it, people come. So, once again, big card, big crowd over in England, great electricity. 3 of the guys on the card were drawing all the fans because they're from... they're from across the pond over there. So let's get to it.
Yep, Paddy Pimblett gets it done against Bobby Green, catches him in a guillotine, transitions to a triangle, chokes him out, almost ripped his arm off when it looked like Bobby Green went out cold. The ref didn't catch it, and Paddy started armbarring him. Thank God the ref jumped in when he did. But I think a lot of people were surprised to see Bobby Green even shoot for a takedown since he's known as a stand-up fighter and Paddy's specialty. I mean, Paddy's good everywhere, but he's really good on the mat, and I proved that on Saturday. First round submission, Paddy Pimblett gets the win. How'd you like him?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Look, everybody was shocked that Green would go to the mat, and that was a mistake. Because once he made that mistake, the bigger, stronger Pimblett, who's a very good grappler, had what he wanted. But I tell you, it wasn't by accident. It wasn't just like he just got up on the wrong side of the bed, Bobby Green, and was stupid that day. He's 37 years old. I love him. He's a war horse. We love Pimblett. He's been on our show, and he's the next superstar. They're building him towards that. He draws, he's got that crowd the way that Conor McGregor draws crowds, with that enthusiasm, with just that craziness for him. But Green got kind of goaded into it. He got kind of led into it the way that a spider leads a beetle into his web. He didn't go so willingly. What it was I think the patience of Pimblett, knowing that Green's a good striker, so it looked like it was going to be a striking match, and Green got kind of talked into getting desperate and thinking he had to go for the takedown because he couldn't control the range, because Pimblett was doing such a good job controlling the range, stepping out, in and out, just where Green didn't feel that he could get his guns off, so to speak, his striking game going, and he felt like he might leave himself open for a counter because Pimblett was countering with the left hook. He was doing good countering. He was making it where it was going to be hard for Green to really get into his distance to properly strike. So I think that made him desperate and made him go for the takedown. I really do. I think it was set up really well by Pimblett. We shouldn't forget that. I don't think that should be overlooked. And another thing that shouldn't be overlooked, yeah, Bobby Green's known for his striking. Yeah, he's a warhorse. Yeah, he's a do-or-die, riverboat gambler. He gets you, you get him. But this is a guy who was coming off a great win, and this is a guy who has credentials on the mat, Ken. He's got credentials on the mat, too. He just doesn't go there. He likes to strike. And very impressive. Just very impressive how Pimblett was patient enough to make Green make a mistake, go to where he really shouldn't have went to. That's pretty obvious afterwards. And Pimblett, like you said, he put the move on him, and he lured him into the web, and he took care of business. So Paddy the Batty continues to move forward, as the next, one of those next superstars. And also, happy birthday to Dana White. A little belated, not much, but that particular Saturday night was his birthday, and he has a lot to celebrate because, first of all, with his family, he's got a beautiful family, but his success and what he's built along with the Ferreira brothers is pretty magnificent. So, all right, let's go down the card. And we go to the heavyweights, baby.
Tom Aspinall did exactly what he was supposed to do, gets him out on his feet in a hurry. Curtis Blaydes gets caught, goes down, and Tom jumps on him and finishes him. Exactly what you would expect from the interim champion, Tom Aspinall, first round stoppage.
Yeah, Blaydes, look, you said it right. You set it up right, Ken. Blaydes is better on the mat, all right? Get right to it. He's a big man. Oof, big guy. He's really, really got credentials on the mat. Aspinall's a boxer. He knows how to defend the takedowns and handle himself on the mat. Everyone has to learn that. The great Adesanya learned that, even though he's a great striker. He learned how to defend on the mat and hold his own there. You have to, and, if you're going to swim with the sharks in this ocean called the UFC, where you will get eaten up if you can't do a little bit of everything. Sooner or later, somebody will take advantage of that. But Aspinall, he does look like the consummate boxer, like he could be a boxer. Very basic striker, good solid jab, right hand. At first, it looked like he landed the right hand clean. It was really the jab that dropped Blaydes early in that first round. It was a hard, solid, his knees were bent, it came from his shoulders, it was straight, it was accurate. You land a good jab, you drop people. And he dropped them. And then as he said, he's the best finisher he feels he is around. He jumped on him. He didn't I think Dustin Poirier is a pretty good finisher. But I guess in the heavyweights, he's a hell of a finisher, although John Jones ain't too damn bad either. But he knew what to do. Once he dropped him, he knows that Blaydes is a dangerous guy, especially if he could get you on the mat. He jumped on him, he got on his back, and he kept those fists going until the referee stopped it right away. So really good job by Aspinall. The right hand glanced a little bit, but it was really the jab that did the business, even though it looked like a a traditional 1-2 at first glimpse. But here's the thing I want to touch on in such a fast fight. Everyone thought that early on, Blaydes striking landed a couple shots. I don't think they landed. I want to give Aspinall a little more credit for his defense, where at first glimpse, it may have looked like the 1-2 from Blaydes landed. But when I looked at it, it didn't really look like it landed. It looked like Aspinall made it miss. Just a little tiny movement, a little head movement to make it miss. And I'll tell you something else. A little gliding. What do I mean by gliding? Like you go gliding with the wind. A little turn of the head. Just enough to take off the steam from the punches like Roberto Duran used to do. I'm not comparing him to Roberto Duran, but Duran was a master at riding with punches, just gliding with them, riding with them, where he'd go with the right hand, and the right hand would look like it was landing, but it wasn't. It was the impact was being lost by the move. And I saw some of that in Aspinall. I was very impressed with that. Again, subtle. You got to really know what you're looking for. And just a little head movement, a little bit of like I said, riding with the punch, turning his head, letting the punch go, its own way instead of taking the full force, the brunt force of the punch. That means to me that Aspinall, it means a couple things. It means he's more than meets the eye, more than just a big guy who can punch, could strike good. He's a guy who's learning the science, knows the science of striking, and is being taught right, and is aware of what is important besides just letting his hands go. Defense is important. And it shows me good eyes, that he had a good vision where he could see those punches coming. Good teaching, good vision, good awareness, and being, like I said, cerebral. So I like that combination, that you need that more than just physical force and punching power, and toughness. You have to have that combination of the full package. He showed me some of that package, and it wasn't missed on me. So I just wanted to make sure that he got credit for that I mentioned that, and a big win. Very impressive. Very impressive. Of course, now everybody is yelling about him fighting John Jones. I wonder if the great Pereira, the light heavyweight champ, will look to be a little bit, of sort of a fly in the ointment, if you will, in the works.
Yeah.
Put a wrench throw a wrench into the works, where he looked up to challenge Aspinall. And if he was able to pull off the upset, or the win, I should say, I don't know if it's an upset when he gets in the cage with anyone anymore, the way that guy looks. But if he was to pull off the win with Aspinall, that would set up a historic, just incredible showdown with him and John Jones. But right now, Aspinall calling out John Jones. And you gotta like Aspinall's attitude.
Did you like the way he called him out? Hey,
yeah,
John, I'd love to have a fight.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it. I love his. I love his manners. I love his attitude. He's graceful enough. He's gracious enough. He says things the right way. I love Blaydes too. What a humble man Blaydes is. And how great was it to hear Aspinall, give him his dues and talk to him, not just about a fighter. I listened to the words he said. He said, what a great man this is. What a great person this is. And from all accounts, Blaydes is a hell of a person. So anyway, that's 2 down, kid. And now we go to the main event. Of course, we were probably rooting for Leon Edwards. He's been on our show. Take it from there.
Belal Muhammad does exactly what if you were picking Belal to win, this is exactly how you would have designed it. He looked really good on his feet. At times I thought he had a big advantage on the feet. He used such great boxing, and I'm curious to get your breakdown of this because it looked like he was mixing up his shots beautifully. He'd go anytime Leon would go with the high elbow guard, Muhammad would hit him with an uppercut right under the guard. Then he would get his when Leon got his hands too high, he'd shoot in and take him down, dominated him on the canvas. I mean, look, it wasn't a barn burner. Obviously, Dana wasn't jumping up and down to give out bonuses here. But at the end of the day, a title fight's a title fight. And if you're in there, you just got to do what you got to do to win. And Belal got it done. I'm happy for Belal. And it was super nice to see at the end of the fight, Belal give a lot of credit to his nutritionist, Ian Larios, who's a good friend of mine. And, a lot of times, Teddy, those guys, strength and conditioning, nutritionists, no one ever recognizes them. So it was so nice to see Belal give Ian Larios some shine in the post-fight interview in the ring. But great win for Belal. I'm sure Leon Edwards is going to be back. Great guy, great champion. And by the way, a lot of bad blood in this fight going in. They really wanted to kill each other. But bad blood, but without being real jerks to each other. I liked it. I liked all the animosity and the way they handled it. How'd you like the fight?
Well, Ed was a classy guy. He's an understated guy. He's a classy guy. And Belal's, he's been waiting a while for this. He's 36 years old. Give him credit. I mean, you got to be happy for him. Even though he beat our friend, you got to be happy for a guy who put the work in. It's a rematch. The first one ended in the second round with an eye poke to Muhammad. Got a bad eye poke. So, maybe Edwards was a little overconfident because he won in that first fight. People change over years. They get better. But in that first fight, Edwards handily won the first round. And then, of course, the second round was the eye poke, and then he come to this. So maybe he was counting his chickens before they hatched. I'm not saying he was, but maybe he was thinking, was going to be different than obviously it turned out to be.
That was a really good point, Teddy, that not a lot of people were talking about how the fact that Leon did dominate him. So for Belal to come back, put that behind him, to your point, change and get better. Because I was thinking, same thing. Oh, if it goes like the first one, Leon's going to destroy him. But not the case. He improved.
No, people change, just like our friend Dustin Poirier. The first time he was a less mature kid when he fought kind of the great pioneer Conor McGregor, and he lost that fight. And then 5 years later, whatever it turned out to be for the rematch, he was a different man. I remember when I was saying, and I was picking Dustin in the rematch, I was saying, listen, if anyone, including Conor, thinks that Dustin is the same person, they're making a big mistake because he's seasoned now. He's a veteran now. He's much more mature now. He's a different person now. So same thing here. One thing I wanted, tangibles, X factors. 5:36 a.m. over there in England.
Crazy.
5:36. Come on,
it's not good for the fighters.
They both got to deal with it. Don't get me wrong, but you're going to tell me that maybe that didn't affect somebody like Leon. Yeah. And again, no excuses, please, fans. I'm not making an excuse for Leon. He wouldn't allow it. He's a fighter, and I wouldn't do it. I've been in the fight business 50 years. I'm just pointing out what I got to point out, that everyone gets affected differently. That ain't the easiest thing in the world to be waiting. Sam, that means you're in the locker room probably at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, and you fight at 5:30 in the morning. So it's tough.
I'd rather them let the U.S. audience watch it midday than to make the fighters fight first thing in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. It's just, I'd rather see the fighters at their best, even if it means you either have to watch it during the day in the U.S. or record it and watch it. But accommodating the audience and putting the fighters through that, I mean, look, they're going to do what they want to do, obviously, but I'd prefer to watch it during the day and get them at their best, where everyone's at their best.
And look, that's part of the challenge, right? Being mentally ready, being mentally fit, being a samurai, overcoming, having that mental attitude where you overcome some of those physical difficulties in fighting at 5:30 in the morning. That's the true test, part of the true test. Who can deal with that? But anyway, Edwards, southpaw, both of them, early on striking. The first thing I want to say to set this up is that Leon Edwards' greatest strength is what was his downfall. it's also his greatest possible weakness. And I think it got attacked, and I think it got exploited by Belal Muhammad, a terrific, solid fighter. First of all, I want to say both guys just solid in every area. Striking, on the floor, solid. Their behavior, their approach, their patience, both of them are just, they're not sensational in one area, but they're so solid. And one thing that I thought stood out to me was Belal looked a little bigger, but he was in great shape. They both were. Don't get me wrong, but the physical conditioning on Belal was really stunning to me. Like, it was different than I ever seen him before, and his physicality showed early on.
I think that's why he gave the credit to the nutritionist, because I know that was a big emphasis in their camp from talking to Ian Larios, he said to me before the fight, he goes, he's in the best shape ever. If he can't beat Leon in the shape he's in, it ain't happening. He's peak performance.
I tell you, Ken, you know everybody now since you've been doing this show. Your Rolodex has grown. I wish I could get a nickel for every person that you've gained on that Rolodex since you've been doing this show. But listen, look,
well,
you
fairness,
are the man. You are the mayor. You are the mayor. You are the man. You are the man.
Ian was living across the street with Jelly Roll for a couple of years.
Jelly Roll, another one who's in your life now, and that's great. Look, and I'm glad for Jelly Roll. He has gone to a new level
nice
with
guy.
the Super Bowl commercials and everything else. Great guy. But I don't know when you're going to invite these guys to come to the foundation dinner so they can help us raise money.
They have an
for
open
some sick
invite.
Kids, in November.
I've invited them.
Dustin Poirier is coming again. I think
excellent.
DC said he wants to come. Chael Sonnen said he wants to come. So let's get a few of those guys.
You guys tell them you're on the clock. We'll see you, Chael, DC. We'll see you guys there in November.
Yeah, but what about? I got that covered. What about Jelly Roll and your crew?
I've asked him every single year to come.
No problem.
Honestly, I've never seen such a busy person, but I'm sure if he can do it, he will.
Yeah.
Jelly Roll.
Jelly.
The Thursday before Thanksgiving, Staten Island. Fire up the jet.
Yeah,
I'll even ride up there with you if you like.
So here's the thing for me. Leon Edwards and Belal are very similar, solid guys, just solid. Not like I said, not one really scintillating Nova Star type talent in one area, just solid in every area, mentally, physically, technically, and Muhammad's physical strength was really evident when he picked up Edwards and dropped him a couple times for the takedowns, and it seemed like in every round. But where
you see the one, Ted? Did you see the one where he spiked him straight down on his head?
And it's amazing
scary.
that Edwards survived.
Scary,
that. Amazing.
Oh, crazy! That was real. That could have been bad.
And then had moments where he came back after that, but amazing resilience by him. But Belal Muhammad, it became evident early, this was his night. He was not going to let this opportunity go. There was a stark difference from a guy being the champ and having been the champ for a little while, and a guy hungry to be the champ. That's why Customato always said, Teddy, it's awful hard to win the title, but it's harder to keep it because you got a target on your back, and everybody is aiming for it, everyone. And that was what was evident to me. Belal Muhammad was aiming for that. He wasn't leaving there without this. This was his moment.
And they made him wait. They made him wait.
He'd been waiting, and he was not going to let it get away. Not.
Yep.
I'm not saying he's hungrier than Edwards, but I'm saying that played into it. He was as hungry and ready as you could get, and he knows he might never get this chance again. And he took it full advantage. He was ready in every possible way. And again, I think he was sending a message. I noticed how physically strong he was, but more importantly than me noticing, Leon Edwards, when he picked him up, before the spike, when he picked him up and was dropping him, he was sending a message. The message was twofold. One, I'm stronger than you. I'm not saying he is, but I'm stronger than you. Number two, this is my night. I unless you're ready for something extraordinary, I am ready for it. This is my night. I'm the boss. I'm in command. You're not in command. And it's going to be my title in a few more rounds. He was sending that message that make no mistake about it. Tonight is not Leon Edwards' night. Tonight,
he big brothered him. He treated him like a little brother.
I have to tie. It's just not official yet. It will be in 25 minutes. That's basically the message he was sending, and it was a strong message because 75% of this is mental. But here's what I meant by early: with the greatest asset strength of Leon Edwards is also the one thing that can be exploited to be his greatest weakness. And I thought it was exploited. I'll tell you what that was and what that is. He wastes nothing, Edwards. He tries to do everything perfect. He doesn't make mistakes. He does just enough. He reminds me of Floyd Mayweather. He does just enough to win. He does enough to win. He doesn't look to do it. He doesn't look to get outside himself. He doesn't look to take risk unless he really, really has to. But he looks to do just within the realm, within the containment of what makes sense for him. Patience, control, technically solid, check all the boxes. Before the pilot takes off on the plane, are the wheels working? Are the flaps up? Are the wings sturdy? Do we have full gas in the tank? He checks everything like a pilot before he takes off. And he does it by the numbers. He does it by the rules. He does it the right way. But he does it within a realm of control where he doesn't go outside that realm. Because if he went outside that realm, he's getting reckless. He's getting to a place where he helps you beat him. He's not going to help you beat him. You're on your own to beat him. And at the end of the day, everything I just described, where is the weakness, Teddy? The weakness in what I just described in doing that and just enough is that you can get outworked. You can get out hustled. If the other guy is also solid, and Belal was solid, in all those areas, and he's willing to go a little outside of it, to take a little more of that risk, he has a good chance. You got to be good that night. He has a chance that night to outwork you, to out-hustle you, to outdo you. And I think that I could break this fight down 10 ways to Sunday. But that is the crux of it. That is the center of it. That is the nucleus of what took place. First round, I'll give it a quick run through. Southpaw Belal went right away for the takedown. Like I said, sent the message, looked physically stronger. He was in command on top. Edwards got back to his feet, striking again. Lots of knee strikes, attempts, both solid guys. Nothing sensational, just very solid, well-rounded. First round by Muhammed. Striking, backing up Edwards to the fence, and then taking him down, getting control. 1-0 Muhammad. Second round, again, Muhammad looked very physically strong. Striking, the jab of Muhammad, I thought was controlling Edwards, keeping him where he wanted him. Then he went for another takedown, got it, mounted Edwards. It was all Muhammad so far in the second round. Again, came prepared physically and mentally, technically, solid fight plan. Again, he picked him up, dropped him on the head, as you talked about, we talked about in the second round, dropped him, I think, twice in the second round, sent that message to Edwards, I'm strong, I'm in control, I'm the boss, it's my night, it's my title. Tremendous conditioning by Muhammad. Now, Edwards, late in the second round, switched position on Muhammad on the mat. Technically, nice move, great move. Got a good finish to the round, which really Edwards needed for confidence because he was down 2-0. Now going into the third round, early Muhammad again got a takedown, showing his physical strength again. But Edwards, again, made a great technical move, switched places with Muhammad, and got a body triangle hold on Muhammad, and had Muhammad for a chokehold for a minute, but couldn't quite execute it. But he did get control of the round, which he badly needed to get back into the fight and make it 2-1 for Muhammad going into the fourth round. And I was wondering, how much energy did that round take from both guys? Great and necessary round for Edwards was that third round. Fourth round, I thought would tell everything. Edwards needs to continue the momentum now. Corner did a great job motivating him, sending him out for that fourth round. Good head kick early by Edwards. Good left-hand strike by Edwards from the southpaw position. But Muhammad came back with great strikes. Now, here's the thing for me with the strikes. He had a smooth, flowing rhythm of well-placed combinations, all in a fluid stream, not allowing Edwards to get anything going. You touched on it. That's how I would describe it. And then Muhammad got him to the mat again, where he was in control. Great round so far by Muhammad. He's in complete control. But again, late in the round, Edwards reverses position to finish the round well, but too little, too late. Muhammad won the round, and I felt was up 3-1 going into the final round, and it's do or die. He needs to finish to keep his title. Those great commentators, they all were right on the button with that. Muhammad is moving forward, striking in that fifth round. Behind that accurate jab, he was being the boss again. Again, he goes in for the takedown. He has Edwards against the fence, and again gets another takedown. It's all Muhammad with 3 minutes left in the final round. 3 minutes to stay champion or to no longer be champion. Muhammad now has him completely under control, and again, the champion wasn't going away silently. Late in the round, Edwards switches position, lands big elbows, split open Muhammad, but again, too little, too late. Even if it did win a round for him, which I wasn't sure it did, but if it did, then I had it 3-2 for Muhammad. If not, then it was 4-1. And it seemed like pretty much the judges had it that way, Ken. 48,
that was
47.
Two had it 48-47, one had it 49-46. Looks like they got it right on the screws as far as I'm concerned.
I agree. And again, to finish up, the difference was Muhammad took advantage of I said it early, Edwards' greatest strength and at the same time his biggest weakness, which is that Edwards does just enough to win, nothing extra. And that means he can be, outworked or I've said out-hustled. At times. And Muhammad was solid striking, also great on the mat. I mean, just solid everywhere. Edwards is very solid, doesn't make any mistakes really, but as much as that's given him success, it also leaves opening for someone to, willing to take risk, who's also very solid technically. And that happened to be Muhammad. And Muhammad knew exactly what he was up against, exactly what he needed to do, had a great fight plan, was ready. I mean, he was like that car in the Indianapolis 500 that was in the pit crew, had it tuned up perfect. Tuned up, yep. I mean, just perfect. Everything was hitting on all cylinders. Edwards showed his class and character in defeat, during the post-fight interview. He really did, and congratulations to Muhammad. Good things come to those who wait and are willing to work while they're waiting and don't give up on their dreams, and that's exactly what came forward for Muhammad.
Yeah, good point. All right, let's move over to boxing. Clarissa Shields picks up another divisional championship, this time heavyweight. She steps up and beats Vanessa Lepage-Joanisse. Just absolutely obliterated her. Second round knockout. Rare stoppage of that kind in the women's game, at least at the high level. There's just not a lot of big knockouts like this. My God, she just annihilated her. How'd you like that fight?
Yeah, listen, Clarissa Shields, she's the best women's fighter today. One of the best ever. There's a few in that list. And I want to give credit to her trainer, David Jackson, because he needs to get credit, because the strength of Clarissa Shields, two things. She obviously has good DNA. She's physically very gifted. She worked very hard, and she's very determined. She's mentally strong, but she's technically solid. Some of that credit has to go to David Jackson, because I know John David Jackson. As a fighter, he was a junior middleweight champion, and as a fighter, he was a clever, technically solid fighter. That was his strength. Those were his strengths. And he brings that to any fighter he trains. You can't go wrong being trained by somebody like that. You can't, because they're going to make you better. So Clarissa Shields moved up another weight class to the heavyweight class and just did a number on Joyce. Is that the? Yeah, I think it's Joyce.
Yeah,
that's
right.
On Joyce, because what she did, yeah, there were physical components to it, speed, power, all of that. Even though Clarissa is not always known for her power, but when you land clean, you're gonna hurt people, and she looked everything. She looked everything on this night. Like she had power, she had speed. She knew what she was doing, everything. But the thing that really separated her was early on, first round. I'm watching Joyce, and to me, she looked amateurish early on, reaching, charging in, rather than working behind the jab and, taking patient steps, little steps to do it. She's just rushing in. And as soon as I saw that, I said, oh, this is going to be a field day. This is going to be, this is going to be like a kid going in a candy store. I mean, for somebody as solid technically as Clarissa Shields, she's gonna have a picnic counterpunching. Sure enough, that's her. Give credit to the cerebralness right away. Clarissa sees that. She saw what I saw. She saw that Vanessa's reaching in, being over anxious. Right away, what does Shields do? Smartly started counterpunching. She's standing on the outside, looking to catch her rushing in, and she did with a good counter left hook. And then she opened up on her, and Joyce was able to survive that first round. But the second round, it was really a showing of forthcoming of what was to come, because she picked up where she left off, Clarissa. The second round, she knew now that she could catch Vanessa because of her technical faults. She knew that. So what did she do? She immediately goes out there, attacked her right away, and exposed what I'm talking about, the flaws in Joyce, was by allowing Joyce to open up and then countering right back with a straight, short right hand for the first knockdown in the second round. And then the second knockdown, she actually showed another technical side to her, and good eyes and good calmness in the storm, where she punched in between Joyce's punches with a straight right hand. She allowed Joyce to punch, and she punched right in between. Right in between a little bit of slower, wider punches of Joyce. So that shows me Shields, yeah, she's talented. Yeah, okay, she's more talented than Joyce. But that's not why she won. That's not why she's undefeated. She matches that talent with solid basics, solid technique. And again, some of that credit has to go to who was a very solid champion, smart champion, John David Jackson. I the last thing I'll finish with Clarissa is I go back a little ways with her because I did her first Olympics when I was doing the Olympics for NBC. I did her first Olympics when she was 16 years old in 2012 in London. She won 2 Olympics. That was my last Olympics that I did. I did 4 of them. And I remember predicting when we had to do, me and Bob Papa, had to do a prediction of how we thought the U.S. teams would do. I remember saying, I'll tell you right now, I don't see the men's team meddling. And nobody wanted to hear that, but I said, I don't see them winning a medal. But the good news, and that's the bad news, the good news is I do see the women's team winning gold, and I see it starting with a girl, 16-year-old girl named Clarissa Shields. And she made me look smart because she went out there and won her first gold medal. So it was, again, she is the standard bearer right now, along with Katie Taylor and Serrano, with them. But the number one right now, as far as the whole package, would probably be Clarissa Shield with good company, though. Good company. You have women there that can fight.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll tell you what, speaking of heavyweights, the men's heavyweight division produced an awesome fight. Joe Joyce gets stunned by Derek Chisora, 10-round decision. This fight was awesome. I loved every second of it. Chisora knocks down Joyce in the 9th round. The crowd goes crazy at the O2. Man, just 2 big guys getting after it. Awesome fight. Loved every second of it. How'd you like it?
Look, I'm going to be consistent. It's important. It's important. I always talk some of the greatest traits of some of the great fighters is just being solid, consistent. I'll be damned if I'm not going to be consistent. I had called for Chisora and Joyce's retirement in the last year. They both have been great, especially Chisora. Joyce is 38, Chisora's 40. They both take a lot of punches. Especially Chisora's been around almost 20 years now as a pro, somewhere in that neighborhood. I love Chisora. I really do. I really mean it. And I came out and said it. And what a gentleman. He saw me in Saudi Arabia. And I know he didn't love to hear it, that he should retire, but he heard the way I said it, with the respect behind it and the care behind it, and giving him his due for the warrior, the representative of this great sport that he's been. Tremendous. So he just came up and said hi to me. It was a real warm greeting, and we talked a little bit, and we talked after one of the fights where he interviewed me along with the actor who was out there, the great actor, Liev Schreiber, and who's going to come to our dinner in November, by the way, Liev Schreiber. So I'm looking forward to that too. I wish I could get Chisora, but he's across the pond. But if he happens to be in New York, I would personally drive him to the dinner because I respect this guy so much. So here's the thing. Yeah, I did say that because I see the wear and tear. And I know what it means. You don't regenerate in those areas. You don't get back what you lose when you've been in the ring in wars. You don't get it back. There's no way you can go. You know how they talk about if they take your reputation away and then they apologize, they say, well, where do you go to get it back? In boxing, when you've been in wars, there's nowhere to go to get it back, what you lose that night. And you have to be cognizant of that and understand that they're not machines, they're people. So having said all that, it's not my job to tell someone when they got to stop. It's theirs and the people around them. But I'm glad they didn't stop at the same time, because that night, what they showed, what they taught us, what they showed us is that when you make a choice to behave a certain way, to say that nothing's going to stop me from doing what I want to do, to have a certain mode of behavior, a certain mode of determination, to get something done. When you do that on display on a stage like a boxing ring, you teach everybody that no matter how difficult things are, and it's difficult when you're 40 years old, 38 years old, in a ring getting hit, but no matter how difficult things are, it's your choice how you handle it. It's your choice to say, I'm going to make an excuse, I'm going to give in a little bit, I'm going to be allowed to do that at this point in my life, or I'm not going to be allowed because I won't allow it. They teach us really that no matter what the conditions and the circumstances of life are, that you can find a way to do things that most people would not believe could be done, would probably find a way to fall a little short, to maybe be excused that at this point in your career, it could be allowed to be a little less. But these guys showed you that in their world, in their code of living, that it is not allowed to be less. It is not allowed to give in a little bit. That the lesson was there like a classroom of a person just willing their way to do things that the body no longer really had a say in. It really no longer had a say in. I mean, the legs of Chisora late in that fight were gone. But you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of those movies and books we've read about history and battles and war, where some of them fictional, some of them non-fictional, whatever you take from these stories, where the general, the warrior, is on the horse and the horse is trained to stay there the same way as the warrior, to not leave. And the warrior gets off the horse and goes to battle. And with all the battle, with all the bombs, the gunshot, everything, the knives, the swords, the blood, everything going on, when the general comes back, when the warrior comes back, the horse is still there. That's what Chisora reminded me of with his legs. That the legs, they didn't want to be there no more. They didn't even have the strength to be there anymore. But like the horse, they were trained not to betray the general, not to leave. And they didn't leave. They were all over the place, but they didn't leave. The legs, like the horse of the general, like the horse of the warrior, the legs stayed. They with everything going on, as much as it was, nothing left, they were not allowed to leave. They were trained to stay. There was no choice. And it was really something to behold. Again, I worry about their health in the future, but all I'm going to say after having said that is that they have my full-hearted respect and love, both of them, but especially Chisora, for everything he's been, just everything that defines the word fighter. If you didn't know, if a young kid out there didn't really know the definition of fighter, just watch this guy. To the truest sense of the word, someone who never surrenders to any form of human weakness, not to doubt, not to fear or pain or the convenience, awareness that others have found in the form of, acceptable excuses. They're aware of that. They understand that those acceptable excuses exist in our society, but they are not acceptable or forgivable to these kind of men. And not to the true warrior who lives by really what I was talking about, I've talked about before. One code, one standard. The one that says, I have to push on. I must find a way. I must overcome because tomorrow I must live with myself. See, that's the thing. That's the thing. You know, it is the mantra of gladiators. And Chisora is a gladiator. And win or lose, he can always live with himself. But now I believe he's earned the right to just live. I mean, I really, like I said earlier, I hope I said it properly. I love this guy. I wish I could make him a leader in the world to replace many of these others. I would trust him. I would follow him. As for, again, this last fight, it was great. It was two old and worn, even damaged samurai, but they were still magnificent. Their skills were diminished, make no doubt about it. Their character remained uncompromised, like Frazier and Ali in Manila. Yes, two relics of the former stars they were, but still, I used the word earlier, two novas of human and moral strength that burned as bright as any sun in the galaxy. Yeah, Joyce is slow, plodding, predictable, easy to hit, but he is tough, he's determined, and he punches with blunt George Foreman type force. And Chisora, well, I already said it, he's a warmonger. He thirsts for battle, the way that a flower thirsts for water. Chisora was susceptible to counter left hooks and rights as the smaller, shorter man walked into that dangerous area between a tall, longer man and a smaller one, and Chisora was hurt many times. And yes, by the end, as I said, his legs no longer understood what the brain was trying to tell him. All they did know was that what they always knew. Like I said, like that horse of the great general, stay there. Do not leave. Do not leave. And they didn't leave. The peril for Joyce was what it has always been, his lack of head movement, or simply the absence of defense. When Chisora got close to him, his 6'7" frame betrayed him by giving a great tall target to hit. And as is his calling card, Chisora hit him with left hooks and looping right hands until he finally dropped him in the 9th round with his own version of the Floyd Mayweather shoulder roll, avoiding the right hand by rolling his shoulder back to the right side and countering with his own right hand. Yeah, there was some science sprinkled in, you know, with this primitive, barbaric, you know, just force of wills. The early part of the fight belonged to Joyce, I thought, with Chisora coming on, getting that engine going, that old engine, coming on in the middle to late rounds, but all night was back and forth, rock'em sock'em robots, except these robots, well, they bleed, and they do get hurt, and those parts that are damaged, well, they don't get replaced. But what they did and what they showed us and even taught us, as I touched on earlier, about making choices of being strong versus being weak. No matter the circumstances, no matter the condition, how we feel, that vision, that picture is their gift to us, whether we deserve it or not. Yeah, that one score, Ken, 97-92, I don't know what that judge was doing. It was wrong. But no matter who you liked, and yes, technically, again, I'll be fully transparent and say I'm not sure who the hell really won. Outside of us, the people who won by witnessing such brave behavior. But I will also say without hesitation, I would have given it to Chisora. And I gave it to Chisora. For that night and for many other nights, he earned his win. No matter how that explanation sounds, I don't give a damn. I do not care. I will no longer say he should or they should retire. I've said my opinion enough. The only thing left now to say to Chisora is what I said earlier. Thank you. And I love you. And that's it. I wanted to give that synopsis of technically, physically, the breakdown of the fight. But I also wanted to give it with that summary of how, just that explanation of what these men mean to the sport, what they mean to people like me. And again, what they've taught us. So I heard Chisora say, Ken, that he's going to fight 2 more fights. Frank Warren, God bless him, he's his promoter, and he was, even though they're going to continue to sell and people are going to come, Warren said basically that I don't remember his words exactly, but basically the message was, I wish he would retire. He's been so great, and he's been such a warrior for so long. But somebody as strong-minded as Chisora, at the end, he's going to do what he wants to do. And I'm sure he's going to get those 2 more fights.
Yep. Well, good luck to Derek. I'm sure if he says he's going to do it, I'm sure he will. Before we get on to the preview of the upcoming big card from Saudi Arabia, the Terence Crawford card, give a quick shout out to our number 1 sponsor, Athletic Greens. Go to athleticgreens.com/Atlas to take advantage of a special offer for our listeners. 10 free travel packs with your first purchase. So if you're planning on going over to Saudi, you definitely want to be taking your Athletic Greens before and after you get on the flight. Make sure you're getting all your micronutrients. Athletic Greens is made from 75 whole food sourced ingredients. It's the all-in-one green drink that you take daily. I take a scoop of this every morning with 8 to 10 ounces of water. Shake it up. Boom. It's the one supplement you shouldn't go without. Make sure you're taking care of your body's health and immunity. More so than anything else, your diet is as important as your training regimen. Teddy, let's get into this preview. Let's start at the bottom and work our way up. We'll start with Isaac Cruz against Jose Valenzuela. What are you looking for in this one?
Isaac Pitbull Cruz, he's one of the most, who don't like him? His style, what he brings, his energy, his determination, his nonstop punching from bell to bell. Who doesn't like this guy? You're going to watch that fight because of this guy. This guy never dulls. There's never a dull moment. There's never a moment you hear that word boring, which we heard a couple weeks ago with a terrific fighter, very talented fighter, but a guy that, everyone fights different styles. Pitbull doesn't have the abilities to fight a style like Shakur Stevenson, but what he does is he makes the most out of his style, which is to bring it from the first round to the last round. He's lost 2 decisions. He lost to Tank Davis a decision. It shows you what kind of chin he has, shows you what kind of heart he has, what kind of motor he has. He is just a ton of fun to watch, not to fight. He ain't a ton of fun, but to watch. But I also love Jose Valenzuela. He's a 25-year-old kid who scored probably the knockout of the year when he knocked out the kid Colbert, knocked him cold. He's a good puncher. He's a game tough guy, and he's a good puncher. And you got to be a good puncher to have a chance to slow down Pitbull. It's going to be a good fight. Watch it. I'm going to pick Cruz to win a decision over Valenzuela. Has been stopped once, but I'm going to say he's still a work in progress. I'm going to say he's still getting better. I'm going to say he's 2 game and getting a little more seasoned where he will go the distance and will maybe get a moment to even drop Pitbull, maybe, or to hurt him. But at the end of the day, you can't keep the ocean from coming to the shore, and you can't keep Isaac Pitbull from coming forward. So I'm gonna go with Isaac Pitbull by decision. Next,
Yeah, and by the way, I think I might have incorrectly said it was in Saudi. It's being promoted by Turkey Al Sheikh, but it's the fight's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Next up, one of your favorite fighters, David Morell, in against Radivoje Kalajdzic. I know you're high on David Morell. I like him too. What are you looking for there?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Morell. He's won a world. He's like a prodigy. He's won a world title in a very short amount of time. Only special fighters. Only special. And we have only special fighters do that. We haven't seen the best of him. He hasn't fought the best yet. We still have to see him really in a fight that at least we think he could be tested. He's fighting an awkward fighter who can punch. He's 29-2. He's been knocked out one time. Kalajdzic. How do you pronounce his name?
Kalajdzic. I think it's Kalajdzic.
Well, that's what it is now. And Kalajdzic, 29-2, been stopped once. He's 33 years old. He's going to get stopped again, I believe, by Morell. Morell is that kind of talent. He comes from the great Cuban team. He's we don't know how good he could be. I think he could be great. I think right now, you ready to blow your socks off a little here, Ken, and get people going nuts? I think he beats Canelo right now if they fight. Yeah, I do. But Canelo's never going to fight him. And I don't blame him. And I don't mean that he's scared. Morell has not had that signature fight yet to deserve that kind of fight where people will pay for it, where the risk will be worth the reward, because the risk ain't worth the reward to a guy like Canelo, because it's not a big enough name. His name's not big enough to bring the kind of money that fight would have to bring for that kind of risk. So he ain't gonna get Canelo, but I think he would beat him right now. Younger, stronger. I think he's that good. But here's the problem with Morell: until he fights that real opponent, he hasn't done that. But until he gets in there with that real opponent that really has a chance to really, going in, has a chance to win, we're never really going to see, what he is. But I'm gonna say that if he fights that fight, and at that point, I will put him in my pound for pound. He's not in my pound for pound because I don't put you in, no matter how good I think you're going to be, until you fight somebody to put, the test is in the pudding, right, Ken?
That's right.
Until you fight somebody, I'm not going to put you in my pound for pound list on ESPN. So I'm still waiting on this, but I do believe Morell is the real thing. He's just got to get that fight, that signature fight that everybody has to get at some point. And but until Morell gets that, he's not going to get those big names because he's too good and he's too unknown in combination with being too good to get those kind of fights for those guys to take that kind of risk. So anyway, at the end of the day, I take Morell by knockout. I'm going to put a round on it. I'm going to say within 4 rounds. By the way, the Radivoje has been stopped one time, and it was by a great fighter, a fighter named Beterbiev. So I think he gets stopped by Morell.
Next up, heavyweight, Jared Anderson, 17-0, in against Martin Bakole. Martin Bakole brings a record of 20-1, one loss to Michael the Bounty Hunter. Jared Anderson he's an exciting young fighter. Curious to see what he does here against a more seasoned veteran like Bakole. What are you looking for in this one?
Look, Jared Anderson's 17-0. He's talented. Everyone's been raving, talking about him. Top Rank has done a good job of building him up, but putting him in with opponents he could beat, building him up to 7. He hasn't been tested. He hasn't been put in there with anyone really risky, really competitive yet. And I'm not saying that he should have been put in with a guy risky to the point that he's going to lose, but instead of putting him in with fights that are 90-10, 80-20, 70-30, 70% on his side, 30% of the other guy winning, I think to develop a guy, to find out what you got to put him in a 60-40 fight or 55-45 fight. They haven't done that. And for some reason, the face of boxing, I say it, the face of boxing. I was the first to say it. Turki Al-Sheikh, who's changed boxing, dramatically changed the face of boxing right now. He has some kind of real interest in Jared Anderson. Matter of fact, to the point that he put him on this card and he got him a trainer. He went out and got him a new trainer, Sugar Hill, the late great Emmanuel Stewart's nephew.
Yep.
He got him to train him. So, I don't know what Jared Anderson is besides being a young, big heavyweight who has ability. There's others out there in the same category. He hasn't been put in with anyone to really show what's under the hood yet. And I don't think it's going to show. I know some of those so-called pundits out there, they write for these internet websites. I don't know where they get their credentials from. I really don't. But they said Bakole's going to be a test. He's 20-1. Well, I don't think so. He's 32 years old, Bakole, and he has been knocked out once. He has been stopped once. Here's the story on Bakole. He hasn't really fought anyone when they win their prime, except for one person, Mike Bounty Hunter, who's a talented kid, a talented fighter. He's not a kid anymore. He was an Olympian, too. He's a talented fighter, Mike Bounty Hunter. His father was a hell of a talented fighter in the pros. Mike the Bounty Hunter, his father was. But Mike Hunter, talented kid, and he stopped Bakole. And that really, to me, really signified the only time Bakole stepped up in talent level with somebody that still was in their prime. Otherwise, he's been in there with guys where they've been picked pretty well. He's 20-1, 15 knockouts. Again, the only fight that means something to me on Bakole's record is when he stepped up with Hunter and he got stopped. I think he's going to get beat again by Anderson. I don't know. Again, the only thing I want to see is, does Anderson get somebody that is real enough to kind of do two things: show what's inside of Anderson and to bring out what might be inside of Anderson, what people like Turki Al-Sheikh obviously think is inside of him. I don't know yet. I don't know that this is the fight. I don't think this is the fight we're going to find out. So at the end of the day, I like Anderson. Let's go. What's next?
Andy Cruz and Antonio Moran, lightweight fight, 10 rounds.
Andy Cruz, Eddie Hearn has him. So he's going to do the job with him because him and Warren know how to do the job to build these guys to champions. Cruz he's another guy that could be a prodigy like Morell. He's from Cuba. He's from that factory that make in that little island, that little communist island where you're going to be hungry to get off it. They create great fighters. Everything about that place, the teaching, the environment, the necessity to find a way to get him out of there, to the carrot of boxing that is a carrot, that if you could be great with that, you can have a chance to change your life to a better life. Andy Cruz is 3-0. He's an Olympic gold medalist, and I think he has a chance to become one of those special, almost iconic fighters like Inoue, Lomachenko, Rigondeaux, Morell. I'm going to throw another name in there. Some people won't like it. I don't give a darn. Leon Spinks. Yeah, Leon Spinks. You forget him because he became like a punchline at the end, which is awful. He was a gold medalist. He was a Marine. He was special. I know life got the better of him. I know at the end life got him and beat him. But this is a guy who, I think it was his 9th, 8th, 9th, 10th fight, whatever it was, beat the great Muhammad Ali, who was aging, no doubt about it. But he beat Muhammad Ali for the heavyweight title. Then he lost it in the rematch, and then his life spiraled downhill after he made that money. But this was a special guy. Wow. When he beat that Cuban in the Olympics, that 76 team was the greatest Olympic team of all time. I don't care. I don't care who you put up there. There was no team better than that team of the Spinks brothers. Michael, one of the great light heavyweights of all time, went on to win the heavyweight title. Leon Spinks won the gold there, then went on to win the heavyweight title. Sugar Ray Leonard, one of the greatest fighters of all time, beat the Cuban. The Cubans were they were the team. Beat the great Cuban for the gold medal. You know, Howard Davis, the great boxer, won the Val Barker Award for best boxer of the Olympics with one of the greatest teams ever, and he won for the best boxer. Leo Randolph, well, he won the gold. He was a smaller bantamweight, I believe. 4 of the 5 went on to win world titles. The only one who didn't was Howard Davis, and he came close. He came damn close twice. Well, he fought Jimmy Watts, I believe, in England. He lost, and then I think he lost to Edwin Rosario, great puncher from Puerto Rico, real good fighter, who a lot of people thought beat Macho Camacho when he was undefeated. Dropped him in the garden. But it was a really close fight. But anyway, this Andy Cruz, he's got a chance to join the company of those guys I just mentioned who won world titles with a couple fights. Lomachenko won the world title in his 3rd fight. Riga Diao only had a couple. Morell only had a couple. He has a chance to join that list. This is a guy I had to mention him. And he's fighting Moran, Antonio Moran, who has lost and gone the distance with good fighters. He has. The only guy he's got stopped by was Haney. Haney stopped him. But when, he has lost when he steps up. But he's gone the distance when he stepped up. But he's lost. But he's gone the distance except with Haney. He's 36-1. Antonio Moran. Cruz is 3-0. I'm taking Cruz to win that fight.
Very nice. That'll be a good one. Next up, Andy Ruiz against Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Interesting that Jarrell's still hanging around after all his doping suspensions. But here we are. Andy
Ruiz took a terrible beating with Dubois, who's fighting Anthony Joshua in September for the heavy IBF title in Wembley. But don't forget, I don't know. He took a terrible. I take my hat off to Miller. The heart, the soul, the pure guts that he showed in that fight. But he took a beating from Dubois. A good puncher, Dubois, a big, solid puncher. He took a beating and got stopped in the last round, I think it was, in that fight. I believe it was the 10th round, I think. Whatever was the last round. So I don't know. Is he over that beating? I'll tell you what's ironic. Ruiz is the guy we always poo-pooed a little bit. When's he going to get in shape? He's always heavy. He's always soft. He looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. He's overweight. We always put that sort of, we put that label on him. But meanwhile, it's Miller who came in 330-something pounds. It's Miller. Huge. I mean, it's Miller who's got the weight problem now. So, not Ruiz. And matter of fact, the last time I saw some footage of Ruiz in training camp for this, he looked good. I give him credit. He's got his head on straight. He won the title against Joshua, knocked him out. Then he went way up in weight, and he blew the rematch. He was living a big life. He wasn't ready for it. It happens with these kids in their mind. They're not ready for it. And he wasn't. He went out there, spent money, got heavy, blew it. But it looks like he learned something from it. And he's getting another chance to come back, Ruiz. And so is Miller, if Miller could pull off the upset. I like Ruiz. Ruiz is a good fighter. He can punch. He's got good hand speed. He knows how to fight. He's technically solid. He can box on the outside. He can walk you down. He knows how to counterpunch. I mean, he's had his ups and downs where there's been fights he hasn't looked good. But he's a guy that is a talented. He had a real good amateur background. He's not used up. He looks like he's in shape. It looks more importantly like he's mentally in shape. Understanding what this opportunity is now in his life. I like Ruiz. I like Ruiz in this fight. Here's the interesting part. If Ruiz wants to stand up in this crowd of heavyweights, and you got to stand up because there's a crowd right now. You got to stand up. Put your hand up. If he wants to stand up and get noticed, he is challenged with the task of maybe stopping Miller because Dubois did. Of saying, okay, can you outdo Dubois? Dubois fighting for the heavyweight title. Can you outdo him and stop Miller earlier than Dubois? If you did that, you're going to get people's attention. You're going to get people's attention. I thought that it was important. I thought in the last fight with the undefeated welterweight, who am I thinking about? The welterweight monster that of course is Crawford left that weight class, and he's
Boots
the
Ennis?
what?
Boots Ennis?
Yeah, Boots.
John Ennis?
Yeah, Ennis. I thought Ennis, when he fought his last fight, we knew he was going to win. He was the better talent in that ring. I mean, they handpicked this guy, to show his stuff. But I thought it was important for Ennis to knock out his opponent in that fight earlier than Crawford did. Crawford did in 6. And I thought it was important to have that stage to say, okay, take a look. I'm going to fight the same guy Crawford did who stopped him in 6. I'm going to stop him. And he did. He stopped him at the end of 5. So I think that the same challenge is out there for Ruiz. Can he stop Miller before Dubois? And it's not an easy task because Miller, like I said, he showed an unbelievable chin, great heart, and, he can be dangerous too. So I like Ruiz. I like Ruiz by, I don't know if I want to go all the way on a limb and say by late round stoppage, but I think that he should be incentivized off of what I just said to do that it makes sense. I'm gonna take Ruiz by decision. I'm gonna give Miller enough credit for the heart that he showed in his last fight. The problem is I don't know how damaged Miller is coming off that last fight. But I'll take Ruiz I like to say by late round stoppage or decision, but you can't do that. So I'll say
actually here you want the line for our friends at MyBookie, and you can go to mybookie.ag and use the promo code Atlas for a 50% credit on your first deposit. MyBookie right now has the line on Andy Ruiz minus 350, Jarrell Miller plus 240. Man, I think you got to love Andy Ruiz with that line. No over-under on that one, no props.
Ruiz is minus how much? Minus
350.
I like Ruiz. Any over props or no?
Nah, they don't have any props on that one.
I like Ruiz. I'll take Ruiz. How about by knockout? No.
Nope. Not yet. Sometimes they add those closer to the fight, but right now they've just got a straight money line. We've got some prop bets on the main event. Main event: Terence Crawford, Israel Madrimov. Terence, huge favorite, minus 950 to plus 500 for Madrimov. Over under even money at 10.5 rounds.
Listen, Crawford is special. 36 years old. There's only 2 things that could beat that guy. Normally, I'd say 3. You lose interest. You make too much money. That ain't happening with Crawford. He's a junkyard dog. That ain't happening. Junkyard dogs never get where they're not hungry anymore. They remember they're junkyard dogs. They don't forget that. So he ain't getting that way. The only 2 things that could beat Crawford is moving up too many weight classes, too many. Because this is a guy who started at what? Junior lightweight? I think he's either junior lightweight or lightweight. So
I think so.
Yeah, so this is a guy who started at least either 130 or 135, I guess, whatever. He might have even started, at 130, I think. Is it possible he even started at featherweight? I don't think so. But this is a guy that I think him, Inoue, and Usyk are the top 3 fighters in the world right now, pound for pound. And Tank Davis is right there. So this is a very special generational talent. Crawford, mentally, technically, physically, and his team does a great job getting him ready. He's got everything. The only thing that beats him is what I said, moving up too many weight classes or father time. He's not a guy who's been in a lot of wars. So I don't think father time is there yet. Even, he's 36. I don't think that father time is knocking on the door yet. He is in there with a guy from Uzbekistan who had a real good amateur background. Most of those guys do, from the former Russian satellite countries. They've had great amateur backgrounds. Israel Madrimov is 10-0, 7 knockouts, 29 years old, undefeated champion, junior middleweight. He hasn't learned how to lose. He doesn't match Crawford in the neon talent areas with speed, flash, any of that. Any of that. He doesn't. I'm not sure about the power, even though he's the bigger guy, the much more naturally bigger guy, because Crawford is a puncher. They're born, they're not made. And he carries his power. But Madrimov is a guy who, kind of like I was describing in the UFC fights with Edwards and Muhammad, he's solid. He doesn't have neon talent. He's not sensational in one area. He is solid. He goes to the body. He's in great shape. He can be aggressive. He's the naturally bigger guy, like I said. He's technically solid. He doesn't do anything extraordinary except he's consistent. He uses his jab. He knows, like I said, how to go downstairs. He knows how to step out of range. He's just a solid guy and a bigger guy and a younger guy, 7 years younger. And as I said, also a guy like Crawford who hasn't learned how to lose. You can't sleep on a guy like that. I'm picking Crawford to win.
And by the way, you can get Crawford, if you think Crawford's going to stop him, you can get Crawford by knockout for minus 173 as opposed to minus 950 for just to win.
I don't know if he'll stop him. What I think Crawford is capable of doing with his speed and his length and how he is on the outside, I think he's capable of dissecting him from the right distance. With very precise, accurate punches and good eyes. He's got great eyes. He's got great vision. That's how I see this fight unfolding for Crawford. For Israel Madrimov, I'd see his best chance to use 2 things. 3 things, really. Use a good jab to try to keep Crawford from dominating you on the outside, pot-shotting you, stabilize him. Maybe to the chest, just to keep him off balance. And don't rush in, because you'll get killed with a counter if you do that. Work your way in and try to go to the body. Take some air out of the tires, slow down go to the smaller man's body because you're bigger. And the other thing that Madrimov has to do, he's got to use his timing. He's got enough experience. He's calm enough. He's got to try to time Crawford to negate the speed difference, because there's a big speed difference. He's got to try to time him with a perfect shot while Crawford is punching, while he's jabbing, maybe time him with a right hand, maybe time him when he's stepping out. He's got to use timing, because speed ain't getting it done, because he doesn't match up well in that department. At the end of the day, an interesting match. Can Crawford step up and win another title at another weight class? I'm going to say yes.
Yep, I'm with you there. Well, before we wrap things up, Teddy, let's take a trip to the world of Atlas. We're going to talk periodically about things that got your attention in the world of boxing. What do you got for us this week, Teddy?
The new face of boxing I talked about earlier, I mentioned his name, Turki Al-Sheikh, right?
Yep.
He announced that he's putting out an offer to Canelo to fight Crawford.
Yep, I saw that.
Wow. He's shaking up boxing. He's making it relative again, Turki Al-Sheikh. This, quite honestly, there's other fights that match up in their proper weight classes that I'd rather see. I'd rather see more than that fight. I'd rather see something like Tank and Stevenson, Canelo, Benavidez, maybe David Morell, who I've been talking so highly against Canelo. Not that Canelo-Crawford fight wouldn't intrigue me. It would intrigue me. It really would. But, of course, first I think that, I talked about before, Madrimov is no guy to sleep on. So, obviously, Crawford's got to get past him first. And Canelo, has chosen his next opponent, it looks like, right? Edgar Berlanga from New York, a talented, undefeated fighter. But Canelo can pick. He can pick because he's the golden goose. He brings the money. So he can pick. He can get the edge. He can pick guys that are lighter, guys that are this, guys that are older, whatever he wants. He's picking Berlanga, a talented, undefeated kid. Taking nothing away from Berlanga. I like him. But Berlanga is reminding me of Munguia, one who's probably not yet ready for this. So, at the end of the day, I hear it, that Turki Al-Sheikh has put out an offer to Canelo, and he put it out in no uncertain terms. I give him credit. He said, hey, if you're going to get cute with me, if you're going to get silly with me, basically, and ask for stupid, ridiculous money, it ain't going to happen. But I will be fair. I will be fair. And he's doing it because he really likes Crawford. And he promised Crawford, a big fight. All right, next. The great Manny Pacquiao. And I say this with sadness, all right? Because he's a great fighter and a great human being who has helped his people. He's used his position, his wealth, his power to help the people, the poor people of the Philippines. This is a champion in every sense, outside and inside the ring. He fought a 3-round exhibition fight versus Rukiya Anpo, a Japanese kickboxer in Tokyo. Pacquiao is 45 years old. From everything, I didn't see the fight, okay? Everything that I read, everything that I heard, even my friend Pedro Martinez Fraga, who I trust his opinion, he told me it was bad. That Pacquiao really took a lot of punishment. 3 rounds, he didn't look in great shape, obviously, at 45. But also, I don't know who the hell was making the match and made this deal for Pacquiao. But I saw pictures. This guy, Rukiya Anpo, he looked like 2 weight classes bigger than Pacquiao. He was taller. He was bigger. It was stark. It was glaring how big he was compared to Pacquiao. And again, reports where Pacquiao took a lot of punishment. He came on a little with his heart and everything the 3rd round, I guess, but he took a lot of punishment. And he's been in talks, it sounds like, Pacquiao, to make an official return to challenge Mario Barrios for the WBC welterweight title later this year. Look, I'll finish it with this. I already said, just like I did with Chisora and Joyce, I thought the great Manny Pacquiao, with the great career he's had, I thought he should retire. I'm not going to shy away from that. I am not stopping anyone from making money. It's not for me to say. It's for him and his family to figure out. Not for me. But I will say that when guys are 45 and they've been in the kind of wars that he's been in, the kind of career he's had, I worry that they stay too long and they fight at this age. It's different doing what Floyd Mayweather's doing in exhibition. Floyd's got a style where, even at this age, he ain't getting hit. But the style of Manny at this age now, with some of those skills diminished, he gets hit. And he gets hit more. And that concerns me. But that's one of the reasons why I want a national commission. Because part of the national commission would be to start a pension. And look, I know people out there, you could be good, you could be whatever, bad, you could be haters, you could be lovers, you could be, but if you're going to be fair, we're all human. And yeah, Pacquiao's made so much money, more money than most people will ever be able to dream of making. But if he's in position now, good reasons, bad, there's no good reason. But for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, it's not for us to judge. But if he's in position where he has to fight for money now, which is it looks like it's a possibility, that is something that a national commission, I would hope, can alleviate to a certain extent by having a pension. Because that would be part of the reason why we would have a national commission. To have the infrastructure in place to protect fighters in many ways, in ways of being the judges being right and no more of these bad decisions, no more corruption, to weed out the corruption, but also to have a way to have a pension where these fighters, when they're retired, if they don't have money, they're not forced to come back to fight to make money when they shouldn't be fighting anymore. So I said enough. That's the news on that. The other thing I want to say in this trip around the globe, the boxing globe, Atlas World, whatever you want to call it, the undercard of Chisora and Joyce, a really good fight. Ryan Garner, 16-0, fought Archie Sharp, 25-0. Both undefeated, really good, super featherweights, really good fight. Sharp won the battle of geography early by using his height and length advantage on the outside, controlling the rhythm, tempo of the fight. But then he decided to stand and fight with Garner in the middle of the fight. Listen, here's the interesting. I'm not sure if it was the pressure from Garner and maybe some body work that made him do it, or he just decided, which I think is possible, to make a stand to show Garner that he couldn't walk him down. But whatever it was, it cost him, and it changed the fight because he never, Sharp that is, went back to controlling things on the outside where he belonged. And Garner kept control of the fight. It was a good fight. And it was really about time that these guys had a consequential fight in their career, to advance them, or at least one of them now, because they've been pros a long time. I believe one of them has been pro 9 years. I believe the other one was pro somewhere in the neighborhood of 6 or 7 years, whatever. It was time. It was beyond time maybe, but it was at least time for them to have a consequential fight. It was a good fight. The last one on my trip around the world. Oh no, I got two more. My trip around the world. I want to mention someone I met in Saudi Arabia, a woman fighter I met with her father. They impressed me as people, and obviously the woman fighter as a fighter. Raven Chapman. She's the WBC international champion. She was on the undercard of Joyce Chisora, and she's now 9-0. She fought an undefeated fighter, Johanna Sarabia, who was 9-0 also. She beat her. She won every round. It was a real. Frank Warren is the promoter of Raven Chapman. He's doing a good job. Raven won a big fight at this point of her career against another undefeated woman. She fought a southpaw, and she fought in Sarabia, a boxer that likes to control the outside, likes to counterpunch, likes to set traps. So she had to have a good game plan, and she had to really execute it and have the right technique. Not just the right determination and strength, but the right technique. She showed me the package. Like I said, she's the international WBC international champion. She dominated every round, beating Sarabia, who, like I said, a good boxer, good counterpuncher. She tried to control the outside, but Chapman didn't allow her to fight her fight. Chapman properly closed the gaps. She brought effective pressure, scored to both the head and body. She used the southpaw killer, the straight right hand, very effectively. I like her style. It's a fan-friendly style, while still being technically solid and smart. I wish her and her dad continued success because, as I said, I was impressed. And the last but not least was brought to my attention by Jimmy McMahon, who was one of my former fighters from Ireland. He's got businesses in New York. He lives in New York with his beautiful family, but he also has businesses, very successful builder over in Ireland. And he was a pro fighter. I retired him. I think he was 13-0, 14-0 when I retired him. He brought to my attention, I've talked about some of the prospects coming out of Ireland, and I'm impressed. They're having a renaissance over there of good fighters. Ireland has always had great fight fans, great history in boxing, great history of fighters. Now, one of the top prospects I've talked about, Keith Sullivan, my friend and attorney for the foundation and attorney for fighters and, in general and on his own in his practice. He's got a prospect named Paddy Donovan, 14-0, southpaw. I think he's one of the top, if not the top, Irish prospect coming out of Ireland. And he's trained by Andy Lee, who's doing a great job. Look what he's done with Joe Parker. He's a former junior middleweight champ. But there's two fighters that I want to mention that were brought to my attention by Jimmy. They're brothers. Stephen McKenna and Aaron McKenna. Aaron McKenna's 19-0, 10 knockouts. One is 24, the other is 25 years old. They're young. They had big amateur backgrounds. And Aaron is in a tournament right now in Japan. I think it's being promoted by DAZN or televised. I think DAZN is involved in it. I guess Hearn is involved. I'm not sure. But it's an interesting tournament. It's 8 middleweights fighting for a purse of $1 million. And Aaron McKenna is right now probably the favorite to win it. Again, Stephen McKenna, Aaron McKenna, two Irish prospects. Keep an eye on them. Two brothers from Ireland, tall, wiry guys. Their father is involved, with training them, managing them. So I wanted to mention all of that. Get all the boxing news out there for those boxing junkies out there, and hopefully you're happy with it.
Yep, and there you have it. That's an incredibly thorough breakdown of everything that happened, what's coming up, and news from around the world of boxing. Teddy, thanks for doing that. Thanks to everyone for being with us. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Massive help. And we'll be back next week to cover all the action from LA on the Terence Crawford undercard and the main event, obviously. Have a great week, everyone. Boom.